In Volume 1 of Zom 100, the first messages the creators impart to the readers are these. The story writer Aso continued to stress these ideas with every volume. These ideas are familiar. I've heard them hundreds of times growing up, as I'm sure many of you have. Some kids are ambitious. They find their interests early on and are able to turn them into passions. They're taught to chase them and dream big. Other kids struggle to find those things that really interest them. They keep thinking, keep looking, only to realize that one day, they're no longer kids. In either case, somewhere along the way, you might just find yourself trapped in a cycle of monotony. Every day starts to seem more and more similar, and eventually, a feeling of discontent starts to creep in. It's hard to pinpoint when exactly it happened. You might not even realize you're in such a situation at all. It's hard to break free of this. Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead revolves around the concept of rediscovering and pursuing your interests. The show presents the idea that in doing so, one can learn to appreciate their own lives more and even form meaningful connections with others. After finishing the anime, I'm surprised by how much it made me self-reflect. It's normal for zombie shows to provide some sort of commentary on the nature of people when faced with a hopeless scenario, but the spin Zom 100 puts on this idea is really interesting. It might just make you question what your true priorities in life really are. Our main crew consists of these four, and while they are very extreme in their own ways, it's very easy to see a bit of yourself within them. You're probably not a Japanese salaryman working for a black company like Akira, but maybe you're stuck in your own kind of corporate slave culture. Long work hours, sleep deprivation, high stress. It takes forever to get to the city you work in, and you can't afford to just move closer. You have maybe an hour of free time after you get back and deal with all of your chores and responsibilities, of course. But you're so out of energy that little free time gets reserved for escapism. Maybe in the workplace, genuine conversations are quite rare. It feels like no one is saying what they're really thinking. It's an endless repetitive cycle, with weekends potentially being the only time you really live. You either keep going or you lose your only means of supporting yourself and your family. You're probably not in a position most people would dream to be in like Kensho, but maybe you have parts of it, a reputable job, amazing pay, excellent social skills, an attractive partner. Maybe you're on the right track to reaching your goals, just a little more to go. But despite society telling you you're doing well, you don't actually feel like this was the right decision. This is what you thought you wanted, but it doesn't actually feel that fulfilling. You're probably not super rational in your decision making like Shizuka, who's managed to minimize risk of failure physically, financially, and so on. But maybe you're following some playbook, studying X subject and getting X job the way society or an individual in your life told you to. These decisions didn't really stem from any intrinsic motivation. Maybe you've been so forward thinking, trying to secure a future you never really wanted, that you never put precedence on the present. As impractical as it may seem to make that expensive purchase or go to that useless event, maybe it would have been okay in moderation. You're probably not in love with something like Beatrix, but maybe there's something you really like and you're actively working toward it. You've poured lots of time and money into it and are constantly improving, but with every small win, there's a larger wall that needs to be overcome. You could be enjoying the journey, but maybe it's disheartening sometimes. It's really easy to empathize with at least one member of our crew thanks to their diverse set of circumstances. The most extreme case is obviously Akira. It took a zombie apocalypse for him to do something about his situation. It initially might seem strange that the first thing Akira thought of after learning the world was ending was, I don't have to go to work today. The show even makes it clear that this is an abnormal response compared to most people, but it stresses how dire his situation really was. Akira was one of those ambitious kids in school, always approaching every problem optimistically, and to be reduced to a corporate zombie that can only think about work, I can see why he reacted the way he did. Though this is a little crazy. Akira's a little crazy. A world-ending event being the push needed to escape your own discontent is a glaring difference between the Zom 100 world and ours. We can't rely on an event like that to solve our problems, so I was interested to see how the show would deal with that disconnect. The initial remedy was to have Akira be the key reason the rest of our crew had a shift in their way of thinking. Something that we, the audience, can relate with, as we get to witness Akira's actions in the story the same way the rest of our crew does. Not to mention, we watched this man go from being an excited new grad to having zero mental and emotional strength to having newfound freedom and heightened optimism. The apocalypse still plays a huge role I'll get to, but meeting Akira was the main catalyst, especially in Shizuka's case. Though Beatrix is an interesting exception since she clearly had her goals challenged by the apocalypse. This is a character that is trying to fulfill her dreams in the face of a really big obstacle from the moment we meet her. Eventually, our crew is forced to reflect on what truly matters to them in this new reality reality where they're uncertain how long they'll live. Money no longer matters. Societal expectations no longer exist. As is normal in the real world, once you have your own personal necessities fulfilled, you start to look outward to fulfill the needs of those close to you, and inward, contemplating what it is you truly want. Akira creates a bucket list of things he wants to do before he gets turned into a zombie. The rest of our crew gradually adds to it as the show progresses. This is a huge factor a zombie apocalypse provides that we don't have. We still need money to survive. We still have written and unwritten rules to follow. As the show approached the final arc of season 1, it brought up 2 questions that kind of tackle this challenge. How long can you afford to keep going down a path of life dissatisfaction and monotony? And what if removing the problem of money and societal rules isn't enough to solve your problems? Looking more closely at the first point, Zom 100 tells us that if you don't do something about your crummy situation for long enough, you can start to lose sight of yourself. You can start to question what it is you're living for. We're introduced to a group designed to be a dark reflection of our main crew. I'll refer to them as the anti-crew. For these people, the apocalypse didn't really erase their problems despite them thinking it did. They didn't really have someone like Akira to guide them either. The idea presented is that anyone is capable of becoming like these individuals. It's hard to say when it was exactly, but maybe you've realized one day that you've fallen far behind your peers. The further this gap gets, the more non-existent your place in society becomes. You frequently find yourself wanting to go back to the old days where things were just better. It's more complicated than this, but factors like demanding work culture or struggling to improve your social skills can lead to an individual wanting to avoid conflict altogether. It's so much easier to live in your own world where you have more control. You close yourself off, becoming socially avoidant, like a hikikomori. The show seems to say that ending up in a dark place like our anti-crew isn't entirely their own fault. The leader of this group, Kanta, tried taking steps to improve his situation. It's a lot more difficult to get out of a hole the deeper it is. But it is impossible to escape if you've adopted such a closed-off mindset as he has. The other members of the anti-crew present 3 dark ideas. I am always the victim. I am the unluckiest person here. Everyone else is wrong except me. The ideals of our main crew eventually clash with these darker ones in the hometown arc, where the respective members of each side confront each other. These conflicts ultimately revolve around the theme of taking responsibility. Regardless of the circumstances that brought you to where you are, the only thing you can almost always control is your own actions. More specifically, you can't control others, but you can control how you react to them. And a lot of the time, that's a great starting point. While it isn't necessarily untrue to say a bad personal situation is the fault of others or society, you need to shoulder the blame too. This idea culminates in the conclusion of this arc, with the conflict between Akira and Kanta. Kanta justifies his actions of letting zombies run wild in Akira's hometown by claiming he was having fun doing whatever he wanted. Akira realizes Kanta wasn't actually enjoying this, and it's revealed that all he really wanted to do was have a good time at the pool with his friends. The cruel reality of the situation is that Akira once approached him, inviting Kanta to get some food back in their university days. But out of fear of rejection, he ran away. They never became friends because of that choice. Kanta was now out of chances, and his time was up. It's hard to put the blame of running away entirely on this guy. He attempted to make friends countless times and got burned trying, but if you don't continue to make efforts to get out of your situation, who will? You don't have to start big. Our main crew's bucket list has a lot of items that are difficult to accomplish, but there's a lot of simple ones as well. Maybe stuffing your face with all-you-can-eat crabs is like the most meaningless thing ever in an apocalypse. But I guess that's the point. In a lot of cases, the little things are really what matter and make life worth living, like going to the park with your kids, or checking out that new sushi restaurant with the boys. Do what's accessible first, break down tougher goals into smaller steps. While Zom 100 isn't a realistic portrayal of how to break free of monotony, or an amazing guide to finding fulfillment, it's presented a message you've seen countless times as a kid, in a way that's accessible for adults. It tries to remind you of what joy felt like as a kid, and encourages you to try and pursue that all over again. Maybe breaking free of your cycle of monotony is still really hard, but maybe getting what you truly want isn't quite as difficult as it seems. Whatever obstacles stand in the way, if it's possible to find joy during a zombie apocalypse, maybe there's a way to find joy in our own lives too. You just need to keep trying.